Nerdadders. That's what I call our fans. We're here, or I'm here. My co-hosts are not with me. I'm here with Timothy Cooper, and he is a filmmaker who is presenting a short film here at RiverRun International Film Festival, and he has graciously agreed to sit down for an interview with me.
Excited to be here.
Thank you for being here, Timothy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is my first official interview of an actual writer, director, filmmaker. So you are the very first.
I'm honored
officially. So
I hope I get great ratings on this then for you.
I'm sure
something. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here.
I'm sure you've been down this road before with a few other interviews. I would imagine over the years.
Yes, but never in North Carolina. This is my first time.
First time. Well, great. We're officially the first North Carolina podcast in here, so that's
you
great.
Absolutely are.
So we've already done a bit of an intro for you, but is there anything you'd like to share just about where you hail from, your background, things like that, kind of up to the point maybe that you began getting into writing a film? Like anything you'd like to share in that regard?
Well, there's a lot I could go into, certainly. I've worked a lot of different jobs. Mm-hmm. I was always interested in film and comedy and theater as a kid, and singing and performing, and did a lot of plays and musicals, and didn't really know that screenwriting was necessarily a job. I mean, I'm still not convinced, but I didn't really take it that seriously until probably after I graduated from college, when I started to do more internships for different producers, directors, production companies after I moved to New York City.
So where did you move from? Did you move from where you were at in college? Did you go to college?
I was in college, then I lived at home, which is near Poughkeepsie, in New York, where home of Vassar. And it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours from north of New York City.
Okay,
so
not too far then.
I lived at home for a bit and then moved to New York, and I've been there ever since.
I noticed your bio mentioned Brooklyn. Do you still from there?
Yes, still live in Brooklyn. Love
Nice.
Brooklyn. We filmed Knead, which we'll be talking about, in Brooklyn.
Nice.
So that was really convenient, but it's supposed to stand for in every town. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's what you thought, but it's not supposed to be in necessarily any specific place.
Okay.
That's why we use this we got access to this huge house, and it almost looks like it's a city, but also it could be a suburb, so we were kind of going for a universal message.
Nice. So speaking of Knead, which is your entry in this year's RiverRun Festival, for our audience, you all can check it out. Actually, afterwards, will it be available anywhere? Because this episode will be coming out afterwards. Will it be available anywhere after the festival?
We're going to a bunch more film festivals. We've been going to film festivals since July, and we're going to be announcing that we got into a bunch more
nice.
After this.
Okay.
And I should also mention that Knead is spelled Knead, like bread. So when I introduce this film to people, when they're like, "What's the name of your film?" I say Knead, like bread. Mm-hmm. Which I don't know if that's the ideal name for a movie when you have to add more words to it to clarify how to spell it. But it is like bread, and that it plays into the pun plays into the theme and the movie, as you know.
Okay. So, listeners, I did get a chance to view the film last night. My wife and I actually watched it together, and we both commented on how beautiful the cinematography is. I mean, it looked gorgeous. I thought production design also looked really well. You guys probably had a good costume designer.
Amazing costume designer. My cinematographer, Evan J. Cohen, I work with on everything. Sarah Kogan was the costume designer. She's unbelievable. So talented. As any time anyone sees this film, They're like, how can I hire her? She's great, and that's I can't wait to work with her again. So it's just like we had amazing, just amazing cast and crew. I feel very fortunate to say like I would work with any of these people. I hope to work with every single person on the set again.
Now, had you worked with any of the actors previous to the short film? No, first time with them?
No, I didn't. We had some amazing casting directors, Kate Geller and Ross Schenker, and they were fantastic, and they put us together with this fantastic cast, and it was like they had always known the lines and known the roles and brought so much of themselves to the roles. So it felt very familiar, even though the first time I met them was the day before we shot, for most of them, except for Jordan Carlos, who I had, the comedian, who was also fantastic, and I met him and Mallory Portnoy, who plays his wife. I met her like once during the pickets, the Writers Guild strikes.
Are they the two that end up going to India?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
India. Nice.
Yes.
So you had met him previous.
Yes. So I was able to directly ask him if he would do it, because
nice.
we got to meet through the comedy circles. I mean, he's an amazing stand-up. I do not do stand-up.
Okay.
I do not do stand-up, but I appreciate stand-ups, and I like to work with stand-ups.
Does he have some stuff on YouTube? I'll have to check him out.
He has
quite a bit. Jordan Carlos.
Tons. You've seen him in every commercial. You've seen him in all these sitcoms, and he's
I probably have
amazing.
Like one of those guys that guy. I've seen him in.
Yes, he is. And if you get to listen to his stand-up sets, they're phenomenal. I mean, I've been like crying listening to his sets in the good way, like crying laughing.
My wife and I love getting a new stand-up person that we haven't seen before, and it's just he's we'll have to put him on the list. So is it weird hearing your own words come out of the actor's mouth? Does that still feel weird to you sometimes, even though you've been doing this for a minute?
Yes. Yes. Weird, and also a privilege, because they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's interesting, because I wrote this as a joke or whatever, or that this is not much of a spoiler, that one of the characters will be wearing a gas mask at a certain point.
Right. Oh, was that his idea, the actor's idea?
No. That was in the script.
That was in the script.
But then Sarah, the costume designer, was like, "Oh yeah, I have this," and I was like, "Oh, that's a real thing. Like, you really acquired this somehow. I don't know how, from like a vintage store or something, and it completely changes how the whole scene looks." So when people take the production design, the costumes, the sound cues, the cinematography, the scenery, the words themselves, seriously, that's always a surprise to me. I don't know why, because I'm like, I wrote that and I did intend for it to be that way, but when people take it really seriously and embody the character, it's such an honor.
Does it give you the chills sometimes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, wow, sometimes do you run into like, that sounded even better than it did in my head? Like
sometimes, and a lot of the time that sounds worse because I overwrote that, or that's, they're way over explaining it or something like that. And then the actor, really great actors, like all four in this piece, will say, you know what, they'll change the words either even accidentally or on purpose, or say, I don't know if my character would say that. And I was like, how dare you? But then almost basically all the time, they are right. They're right. They've taken the words really seriously and built a character and said, this is how this person would behave. Therefore, they might say this in this way, or take this action in this way, or move this way. And I'm always, again, like kind of shocked when that happens, because a great actor can really bring so many new dimensions to it that you didn't even realize.
Now, this is, from what I saw, this is the second major short film that you've written and directed.
Yes, the second one that I make publicly available.
Yes,
I will
yes,
say,
yes.
you got to.
That's why I threw in the word major.
I appreciate
like
that.
You put it out there for.
Yeah, and it's not even like I'm ashamed of what I did in the past. I'm not even saying that. It's just like you see the flaws in it. All these other shorts, sketches, and so on that I made. They're formative, but it's these are the ones I'm happy to show to people.
Yeah, my wife and I, well, actually, I think she had left at that point, but I did get a chance to catch up with Lemon, your 2017 entry at Tribeca. Was Tribeca the first festival you got it into?
Yes, it was. We premiered Lemon.
And that's there at New York, right, Tribeca?
Yes, it is. And that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Too, I mean, I got to meet Robert De Niro.
Oh, nice.
That was cool. I was like, oh yeah, he founded this festival, so that makes a lot of sense. So, and I was just like, and that's and they did so much for that film because we ended up selling it to United Airlines, and then we sold it to Amazon Prime acquired it like in the special deal. So we were very fortunate that film was so well received.
No, I thought it was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. I liked how it made a really good point, but like it went over the top, but just not too far over the top. I feel like it hit just the right note with the comedy, but you threw in like some really meaningful stuff about marriage. No. Are you married?
I'm not
married. You're not.
I'm not married, but I have
curious,
a longtime partner. And,
long time.
And this is not about her. This is not.
I didn't. But more of like, there's certain things you learn in having longtime partners, whether it's marriage or otherwise, that gives you insights into
Lemon,
relationships.
and for those who haven't seen it, Lemon is about not really knowing your partner and how that goes both ways. It's not like one person knows the other necessarily. Well, you can have situations where someone knows the other better than the other knows them. True. But this is...
I feel like my wife knows me better than I know her. Like, she would probably tell you that too.
That's really
Sometimes
interesting.
it's like if you pay one person pays closer attention. Although I do have ADHD, so sometimes it's a struggle of like... Anyway, enough about me.
No, I'm interested.
We're here to talk about you and your films, not my marriage. But of course, it made me think of my own marriage. I think any good writing about relationships, I feel like, does make you reflect on your own relationships and makes you think about it. And I laughed too, so
that's great. And it is, maybe it shouldn't be shocking, but it was shocking to me how many people would come up after we went to many festivals with Lemon and said something like that happened exactly like that to me. And I was just like, that's it. I mean, this is based on a true story that happened to a friend, actually. Wow. But not, it's taken to the extreme, of course. But people would come up all the time and say, I was dating this person or I was married to this person and found out whatever. And they revealed all sorts of things to me. And I was like, that's funny because this was a comedy that I made up, but people are really connecting with it, and that's the goal of making any art, but certainly why I make film.
Yeah, I noticed one of the. She was only in it, I think, maybe a minute. She plays the sister in that film. I cannot recall her name off the top of my head right now, but I noticed that she was a graduate from UNCSA, actually down right here.
Oh, Jen is. Oh, wow, interesting. Yeah,
and
she's on everything now.
Yeah. No, I looked her up on IMDb. And I was like, oh yeah, another UNCSA alum. Way to go!
Look at that! Look at that!
Way to go, Winston-Salem.
I didn't even know that. That's so I have some connection to this area that I didn't even know.
There you go. And we actually, for our first episode of the month, because we were featuring, independent art house cinema all this month, we covered. I don't know if you've ever met Jeff Nichols or are familiar with his
personally,
work.
but I'm certainly familiar with his work.
Yeah, he also graduated from UNCSA, so we covered a couple of his films for our most recent episode.
Oh, really cool.
I love his stuff. He's great.
Yeah, I definitely know his work.
Well, so I'm curious, for you, and this might be a chicken or the egg question, is there one that came first, a love for writing or a love for filmmaking? Did one kind of grow out of the other, or were they always walking along together in your dreams of what you wanted to be, what you wanted to do?
Well, I think like a lot of people, I think I loved film because you grow up seeing movies and you don't realize that all the different roles that go into it, that there are hundreds or thousands of people who work on a film.
Oh yeah.
And even on Knead, you know, it involved VFX.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, with the slugs.
And compositing, yeah. So there's, and just so many people across the board, and you know, colorists and sound design and composing, and they're just, and all the costumers and everything. And so there were, you know, if you look at the credits, there's at least 30 or 40. I think it's closer to 40 people.
It's like running a small business for a short period of time, right? Like
it is like running a small business that lasts. In this case, we shot for 2 days.
Oh wow!
So I mean, of course, the pre-production was
Right.
was closer to 2 years, and the post-production was many months. But the actual
film
shoot itself we only had 2 days. We could only afford 2 days.
Wow.
So to run a small business that's like, our goal is to shut down, is just such an insane pursuit.
Yeah, that is, my wife and I run a small business together, but the thought of like, this small business is going to last for, in terms of the active, like everybody there working together, like just a couple months, like, but then maybe you'll all come back together again, but you don't know for sure if you're going to come back together for another run.
Yeah, and you only make one product. It's not like you can keep improving your product. It's like, this is the one product. I hope it was successful.
Unless it's a TV series, of course.
Yes.
You have a little bit of experience in. I noticed that you did a web series back in 2010. Is that right?
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that is correct. With Kate McKinnon.
I noticed that. I was like, that was a little bit before she hit it big. I think.
I
Right?
think
was
it
she on
was
SNL
the
yet?
year before. For a few months, but it was actually a few months before, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
And I had been directing a show at Upright Citizens Brigade, New York, where I studied for many years and did a lot of improv and sketch.
I was going to say, so it's an improv group?
Yes,
Nice.
yes, and I still do improv with my group. Extra Chowder on Zoom. Now we do it on Zoom.
Okay.
We used to perform for people, you know, on
So
stages.
I imagine that's a good writing exercise too, like to try and write as you're on stage. You actually get up on stage yourself and.
Well, I mean, I used to. Now it's just on Zoom, and it's gone. It's there, and then it's gone. That's what I love about it. You don't have to perfect it. You can't perfect it. It exists in a second.
Space. This time and space, and then it's gone.
Exactly.
Except in your memories, I guess.
Yes, and there's something really liberating about that, especially if you are a screenwriter, where you might labor over lines, scenes, acts, scripts for months and years, and it might still never see the light of day. And so at least improv is a great way to, first of all, enhance all those muscles, strengthen all those muscles, and there's no pressure because it's there and then it's gone, and we don't need to edit it. We don't need to. We can't do anything about it.
Can't do anything. It's there and then it's gone.
Yeah, but I was directing an improv show at UCB, and Kate's was paired with mine, and eventually all these, you know, I saw other people were doing web series, and I was like, okay, I think I have the resources. I think I know the people. Enough. I have enough friends here that we could do it. My friend Ed was the cinematographer. I was like, "Hey, would you mind shooting this?" And he's like, "Oh, that'd be cool." And I asked Kate and a bunch of other friends, and then that was nominated for Writers Guild Award. So that got me into the Writers Guild, and
great.
so that turned out way better than expected. You know,
nice.
yeah.
So do you have to normally get noticed to make it to WGA? You have to have something of note that you've published or put out there?
Yes, there are very specific guidelines. You have to work with or sell something to or be contracted by a Writers Guild signatory, which is a company that adheres to the minimums of salary that the Writers Guild sets out. Which, you know, if you sell a single pilot or a single movie, that generally will do it. But and by the way, that is not easy. That is not easy at all.
I'm a bit of a I mean, it's part of why I'm doing a podcast about it, but I'm a bit of a film nerd. I love listening to all the behind the scenes things. There's a podcast I'm currently enjoying called What Went Wrong.
Yes,
have you heard it?
everyone has told me to listen to that.
Yeah, it's great.
And I guess I should, but
they dive really deep.
The thing is, if you, the more you work on sets, you're like, oh man, this is too close,
too close to home.
Too close to home, because so many things do go wrong in every shoot. That is inevitable. And so, as the director, you have to be, and many other roles too. But I'm specifically the writer-director, and so you really have to just be able to roll with things and adapt on the fly and make a lot of tough choices on the fly. It's really a fascinating role.
Now I noticed you also had a writing credit for a feature film. Were you involved in any production in that as well? Like not too long ago,
Are you talking about Away From Here?
Yes.
Yeah. I was not involved with that production.
Okay.
I was a writer for hire, and that's a interesting job as well. I mean, I've done that.
Did you come in?
I should also mention, not everything that one does necessarily is on IMDb.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I've worked on lots more films and pilots and stuff than that, but not everything gets listed.
Have you worked? So you've done like, is script doctoring the correct term? Have you done
Yes.
something like that where you'll make a pass at the script?
Yes, exactly.
And then, but your name may or may not make it to the original or the final credits.
Yes. Well, which brings me
They
exactly.
pay you for it, but like you might not.
That's exactly right, and that brings, which brings me to my day job, which I'm very lucky to have, which is I'm a script consultant, which is script doctoring and also coaching people, teaching people how to write scripts, helping them fix their scripts. Companies, directors, writers, filmmakers, producers, all sorts of people at every experience level.
And is the company you founded back in 2014, or is that?
Yes,
okay.
yes, Blueprint.
Yeah, Blueprint.
You've done your research, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I did kind of a crash course last night.
Yeah.
To tumble as much as I could, and that just looked really cool. Like, it's like kind of a three. I noticed on the About Us, they had 3 people listed. Yourself.
Yes, I have a
so
couple
3
colleagues who now work with me at my company and teach TV and film, and I teach other elements and a lot of private clients. And in the past, up to and through most of the pandemic, I was teaching workshops in New York, physically, and then by Zoom. And I still teach lots of.
Like New York would be like, I mean, New York and LA, I guess, would be the 2 perfect places for that.
Yes.
Like, you get a lot of people looking to get into the business or.
Yeah, and it's so hard. There's no real guidance, because unless you go to film school, but even, I mean, I have taught at film. I never went to film school.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you still an adjunct at, was it Tisch?
I was at Tisch, not at this moment, but I was, and that was awesome. The students were fantastic, so talented. But it was interesting because I was teaching, this MFA program, and I have a BA in philosophy.
Oh, okay.
So
very different.
I never, I taught myself screenwriting by reading hundreds, but at this point I would say thousands of scripts.
Oh, nice.
And I was doing that for companies. I was doing that on my own. And then eventually I started teaching these workshops because I had great mentors, and I wanted to pass that on. Because if you start reading scripts for production companies or directors or producers, which I was, you start seeing the same traps one can fall in, the same patterns, the same mistakes, kind of common mistakes, and then you can get more and more refined, certainly, because it takes all these steps, and it just takes so many scripts to become halfway decent.
Well, they say 10,000 hours to become an expert on something. Like,
I mean, it's definitely that, and it's interesting because you can kind of tell with most of the time, just in a half a page, I can tell how much experience you have, because you can tell when someone really knows their craft, and that means they've written well, if you're anything like me, that means you've written dozens or hundreds of scripts that are terrible, and that's how you get good at it, right? And so it is, and so there are all these kind of common traps, and then less common traps, and less common traps that people, or that are easy to fall into when you're beginning your screenwriting journey. Mm-hmm. And so I started teaching about those and helping people through their individual, structuring and writing and planning, and brainstorming and ideation. And then people started asking me to teach those regularly, and that's how my company came about.
I feel like that's the best way. Like people ask us, like, my wife had a similar experience with her art. It's like she had never thought of teaching, and people just said, "You're really good at this. Can you teach us?" Like, I imagine it's got to be in a healthy way, an ego boost of like, well, wait, they think I'm actually good at this.
Definitely.
Does it feel like that a bit?
Definitely. And it's interesting because teaching now for over a decade has made me a better writer, for sure, because you start to kind of categorize these different families of problems in storytelling that can, for example, get someone to stop rooting for your character. And it can sometimes be just a word or a phrase, and the audience is like, I'm done. And so you just start seeing these.
You want to flip it a little bit, or like if you're saying if you're not something to avoid, if you don't want them to flip on them, or if you do, maybe you want to turn them into a villain. Maybe
if you want to turn them into a villain, but these are applied to generally the protagonist. And so then I'm like, okay, let's look at these issues and why is this script not gaining more traction? Why aren't actors signing on to this, or producers or financiers? So kind of helping people through the entire process.
How many students would you say you've had so far? And it's been 11 years now almost?
Yes.
Since you started?
Well, that is a great question. I mean, because I also teach seminars to every month for the past almost 6 years now to the Writers Guild for my union.
Nice.
So, and that has many people attend every time. So it's, I mean, easily
probably in the thousands.
In the thousands at this point, and then individual students. I mean, I was at a festival with Knead recently, and someone came up to me and they were like, "Hey, just to keep it anonymous, hey, I'm Greg," and I was like, "Oh, hi, Greg." And they're like, "I was your student, 10 years ago or whatever," and that's really cool because you kind of see like you have a hand in helping people form their skills.
Sometimes it comes around, you get to see like, oh, I got this script published, or I don't know if published is the right word, but I got it.
Yeah, or acquired, or the other week a student was like, "Hey, check this out. Here's pictures from the set. My film got a few $1 million of funding, and we're filming it because you taught me how to do it. You helped me through this specific script and these specific problems."
That's gonna feel great.
And that feels really good.
Yeah.
And it's always a treat. And just to experience, and now I experience that many times a year, and just to go to a premiere was at another premiere recently of my student's film, and I was like, holy cow, like this, we talked about this 2 or 3 years ago, and suddenly it's on screen. And that's just, I mean, it's a lot more work than that, but just to see those kind of fruits, come to fruition, those seeds come, sprout.
So speaking of the roots, like when you write the script yourself, like how you mentioned sometimes it can take years in terms of from the time that an idea germinates to the time it becomes a fully formed script. Like, do you have a concept of like how long that process takes on average for you, or is it just really vary depending on the idea?
Yeah, it varies so widely. I mean, I certainly have scripts that I wrote years ago that, I look back and they still need some work, but, like when is this ever going to be made? And then other times you have to write something really fast on assignment, and it's going into production next month. So it really is all over the place. And I have so many so many scripts kind of banked, but I don't know when they're the right circumstance, the right funding would have to come up, and you know, this is one reason, and I know you had mentioned this to me before, was I started writing short stories as well.
Yeah, so you had the 365 project. I don't know if this was the official term.
365shortstories.com. Yeah. And that was because, especially during the pandemic and during the strikes, it's just, it doesn't even matter when it is. It's so hard to get something made, and so many great writers that I know have so many scripts just like on their hard drive, and the exciting thing and the frustrating thing about screenwriting is it's not in its final form. It's a blueprint. That's the name of my company, Blueprint Screenwriting Group.
Yeah.
That's why I named it that with my sister Catherine's help. It's because a blueprint, it's a guide. It takes a lot of skill to make that blueprint, but it's not its final form. The final form will be something that is shot and then edited and then music and then color and then effects, and
sometimes it resembles your original, and sometimes
sometimes not at all. And sometimes not at all. Exactly. Yeah. And so, a short story, on the other hand, is a way to just get your idea out into the world, and that is, in most cases, its final form, and that's great. Now, if it goes on to become a movie or TV series, extra bonus. That's awesome. That is certainly not my goal. But just to make these pieces,
you never know. Like, someone could catch, even if it's just like story by Timothy Cooper.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like they got the idea and they're like, hey, can we turn this into a script or
Absolutely. And so that has been a very more satisfying in many ways, because you're writing something that's not a blueprint, and that could always become a script or become something, you know, something else. But if it doesn't, we can still be really satisfied that we, you know, about getting that idea out into the world. And that's why just to clarify, I published a microfiction short story, which means 100 words.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or the kind I did was 100 words exactly.
So it's like the haiku version of a short story.
Yes. Yes. And I did one of those every day for all of 2023.
So did you typically start with free writing to kind of grease the wheels, so to speak, in that process, or did you, like, that had to be hard coming up with a new idea each day for a year? Or maybe not.
For
maybe,
me, I don't know.
Ideas already.
Yeah, I have arguably
too
many ideas, because I actually ended up with like another couple hundred that I didn't have time or didn't, you know, fully flesh out. And I was like, if I did it, should I do it another year? But then I was like, I think it served its purpose after 365 short stories. I was like, that's enough for people to read. But idea generation has never been a problem. In fact, that's one skill I teach in my workshops, is how to, and that comes from improv also, where you're just generating ideas, and you throw it. Yeah, and it's gone. It's out to the wind, you know. And that's what's so awesome about improv, and that's what's so awesome about generating ideas and just writing a short version, and then that's done. That's the end of that idea, for now at least.
Oh, nice. Have you thought about publishing it in book form, like compiling it all together and putting it out there?
Yes, I would really like to do that. I'm not sure who would I don't know. I think people would buy it, though, actually.
Probably
because
would,
it's like almost like a coffee table book. It's like you look at a picture, and it's the size of a caption. Basically, it's 100 words. It's like a long caption, and then you're done, and then you can move on to the next one. I could do I thought of doing a calendar. Oh yeah, you know, because it's like a Far Side calendar or whatever, but for short stories.
That is a cool idea.
So I'm open to it.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I don't know if it's something. I'm trying to think of science fiction publishers or not. Tor comes to mind. I don't know.
Tor comes to mind.
They would be interested. I know they mostly do the full novel or novella paperback.
Yeah, but I would like that idea to get out there
Yeah.
more. I mean, it did get a fair amount
Got some
of
good
press,
traction.
but and some traction. But I would like to keep getting more ideas. I mean, I am already writing a bunch more short stories.
Well, I
right
saw
now.
with same year. I guess you also did, was it Logline, like 365 movie ideas? Is that correct?
So that was before that.
That was before that. Okay.
That I did around 2010 or 2011, actually.
Okay.
And that was kind of the precursor, and that was 365 log lines. And if anyone out there is not familiar with a log line, it's a one-sentence summary of a script, normally, of a movie, or it could be of a TV show.
Kind of what IMDb has at the top is just like a really brief.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now, those are basically log lines. It's up for some debate because the marketing line or tagline
that's true.
is kind of, that's not quite the same thing as a log line, which is supposed to really encapsulate what your story is, what your main character is, what their goal is, and what the obstacle is to them achieving their goal.
The thesis statement for the film, kind of like that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And a lot of what's on IMDb is like, I'm not sure who wrote this. Maybe it's marketing. It's more like a marketing, like, you won't believe what happens next, which doesn't actually tell us what happens.
Clickbait or
which does work for marketing, though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but essentially, that's a logline. So I did, back when Twitter wasn't horrible, I did...
when it was still Twitter.
When it was still Twitter, I did 365. I put a logline a day.
Oh, yeah.
Every day. Yeah. And it was perfect for tweets because they had to be really short at that time. Mm-hmm. And then the 365 short stories was kind of an evolution of that. What if I fleshed out, I didn't use any of the same ideas, but what if I fleshed out an idea a little bit more every day?
Nice. That is really cool. That just sounds like an amazing writing exercise. I imagine you probably grew as a writer through it, like just the discipline of doing that every day.
Yes.
Did you have a place that you sat at each day to do all of them, or did it vary? Like,
not
quite
really, because
you probably travel a lot. So
my partner and I travel a lot to. So we were actually in a number of countries when when I was writing those, and I was inspired by a lot of the places.
Like pull out your MacBook or whatever you had.
Yeah, or my phone or my whatever device. Notebook if you just have a notebook and paper. And or sometimes I just record, like, what if an alien could whatever. And so those ideas are inspired by just seeing lots of different ways of life and taking in stories from all over the world.
Oh man.
And so
that's gonna be so much fodder for a writer's brain, like to be able to travel like that. Have you gotten to do that? I mean, I know for festivals you do. I saw you had one that was in Croatia. Did I see that right?
Yes, Knead has been in Croatian International Film Festival. We were in Almeria, which is in Spain. We're going to be in Mexico City soon. We were in the Sapporo International Short Film Festival in Japan, which I did. Of all these, that's one we did choose to go to.
Sponsored by the beer maker, like Sapporo, isn't it?
Well, it's the name of a town.
Oh, it's the name of a town.
And the beer is named after the town. Because we went to the Sapporo museum, which used to be the brewery.
Nice.
And learned that, because we were like, the logo of the beer is all over the town, but that's the logo of the town, the star. And that was adopted, and now that's the logo of the beer as well.
Cool.
So that was interesting. Anyway, that festival was absolutely amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to go to Japan someday. That would be great. Was that your first time there at that point? Or?
Yeah. No, that was my second time, I believe, and it was fantastic. It's fantastic.
My co-host Will on the podcast loves all things Japanese, so he's kind of our resident Japanese expert, like samurai and the like. So he would geek out. He would love to go.
Yeah, it was a great place, and it was an amazing festival. And if you can and Sapporo is an amazing city, and Hokkaido is amazing, so I definitely recommend it, and we were received so warmly by the hosts of that, by the founders of that festival.
Nice.
So yeah, I've been and just to see, this film connect with international audiences like we're talking about was a real thrill. Has been a real thrill, and continues to be a real thrill, that there's something about this where it is connecting with, it doesn't matter, gender or background. It's like people understand the message and connect with the message in Knead, which is a little more serious, I would say, than Lemon.
Yeah, although I feel like Lemon still had like some serious undertones,
Yes,
but you definitely still had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you need to have a message. We need to connect, even if it's just slapstick, it has to be anchored to real life, and so that's why I always try to go in with, well, at the, why am I making this blueprint? It's well, because I'm trying to get some idea across, and it's almost always through comedy, but how can we get that idea across of connection, of empathy, of understanding? And so this was a cool way to try to do that through a slightly different genre, because it's like comedy with sci-fi. And the last one was just comedy. And
well, it might be a spoiler warning, but there was that tiny little sci-fi element in it. I noticed, like, kind of threw in there about the cult that she came from.
Oh, right.
Like, just a little bit.
You know what? That's a good point. Yeah.
Like, I just made the. I don't know if you thought of that at all when you were making Knead, but just that after just watching Knead and then watching that, I was like, oh, there's a little bit in there. It's like, but then you also writing the 365 sci-fi. I'm guessing you're a big fan of sci-fi.
I'm a big fan of sci-fi, and just to go back to chicken or egg.
Yeah, chicken or egg.
It's like, well, growing up and seeing sci-fi films, and my dad is a huge sci-fi fan and introduced me to sci-fi stories and novels and movies, and so that's always, you're right, that's always like a thread that goes through.
Well, I caught some kind of a vibe similar to like The Day the Earth Stood Still or War of the Worlds. I caught kind of both of those in there a bit. I don't know if that was intentional or just kind of, it's like you said, you see those things as a kid and it kind of forms you, maybe even if you're not consciously thinking about it sometimes, but.
Yeah, I think those were definitely influences. I wonder how this is going to play for people who haven't seen the film.
Right.
But it happens in the first second minute of the film. Don't is that a UFO crashes near this couple?
And I think it is like in the description as well. It kind of describes.
I think it's in the description,
alien,
so that's not a spoiler.
Slug aliens.
Slug aliens. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it was all. So any of those, I mean, even ET is like, well, that starts with the ship that is having trouble, whatever. Yeah. So and so many. I mean, Arrival. I mean, Alien.
Man.
So all of these are influences.
You're talking about the Denis Villeneuve?
Of course.
I love that movie.
Yes. Which came from a Ted Chiang short story. Called Story of Your Life, which I read zillions of times as a kid, and I was like, this story is just truly transcendent, and then to see it made into a movie is so cool.
It was he nailed it. I thought like that. Yeah. That is one of my favorite sci-fi movies, I think, of all time, honestly.
Oh, well, then check out the short. Check out the short story, which is the same and different.
So what would you say was you mentioned kind of having a primary idea or maybe a message that you want to communicate without spoiling anything. What would you say is, or maybe you don't want to say, maybe you want the viewers to kind of take away something, but if you'd like to share, like, is there a general idea with Knead that you wanted to communicate, or would you rather?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about that, and that is something that audiences seem interested in the Q&As after the film festivals that I've been fortunate enough to be able to attend. They're always curious, how it came about. Maybe I'll say how it came about.
How the idea formed. Maybe.
Yeah, and one theme that I kept seeing, because this was written during the pandemic.
Okay.
I don't think anyone would know that watching the film. It's not like related to it, but
that takes place in the 1960s too. So it's like,
yeah. So no one. I don't think anyone's connecting it, but I will tell you my connection.
Maybe makes some sense.
The gas mask does make sense because they don't know how this delight of finding your destiny, which everyone starts finding except for our main character, how this is spreading. Like, as this came from the aliens, and how this, because it starts happening as soon as the aliens crash land. And the way that came about was I, like many people, was looking, thought, well, okay, now we are all in this together. Like, we all have to help each other. We see how fragile the earth is, how fragile we are as humans. And so this will surely, unite us in terms of, vaccines and everything that's important for health, so that we can just live our lives the way we want to live. And that is not what happened.
Yeah, almost.
Spoiler.
Yeah. In case you were asleep during the pandemic.
Yeah, in case you were in a coma.
It ended up being a little more divisive, right?
A little more divisive, and I mean, unfortunately, it's not like things are suddenly better in terms of divisiveness, and so that made me think, well, what would bring people together? Because I guess naively thought, okay, this is this world-changing event, which hopefully we'll never see the likes of in our lives or the next generation, or I hope we can hope. But I was like, well, then what would bring us together? And so I was like, well, maybe if there's this giant monster, like a Godzilla type of monster, but that's how Godzilla, that came about in the first place. That mythology.
Yeah, it's like we've talked about actually that specific thing quite a bit on the podcast, because we cover anime from time to time, and I've always connected it with the dropping of the atomic bombs there, and that has just burned both literally and figuratively into the Japanese psyche in a way that keeps coming out even today in films.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to me, like the kaiju, and just it seems to represent that in so many ways. Like
exactly, that's where the tradition of kaiju, came out of, and so I was like, well, okay, that's already been done much better than I'm capable of doing it, and so then my mind, and maybe this is because this is an exercise I use with my clients and students all the time. It's like, well, what if we just go completely the other direction, 180 degrees different? And I was like, what if they were these warm, cuddly, innocuous blobs? And what would that, could that unite? Or just knowing that there's something outside, but it's not menacing us. That could be a different approach. And then it kind of spun out from there. Of like, just to take this opposite approach from these giant monsters is just these kind of cuddly blob things that don't seem to have any intention, and so it's how we project ourselves on them, and how the protagonist, Olive, has to eventually take matters into her own hands, because everyone's projecting something on these, or changing themselves as a result, and so she has to also change herself as a result.
Yeah, that makes sense. So now you maybe tied it in a bit with Arrival too, because like, even though the aliens in that film do have good intentions, there's still a reaction, and people still got scared by it. So like, I thought you did a good job of capturing the different reactions. Like the husband who
with the gas mask
wants to stay as far away from it as he can, because he wants his life to stay the same, and he got the gas mask.
Right, and the couple that seems transformed.
And then we're like, let's go.
and that even that upsets where Olive sees that and she's like, well, that's not happening between me and my partner. So what's going on here, and what will it take if these aliens like are transforming everyone around us, including our best friends, and they seem happier, everyone seems happier, and then even my husband seems happier, but I'm not happier. And so what next steps do I have to take, whether they're aliens or not?
Yeah. Well, I think we're coming up on our time here. So we'll kind of wrap up with final thoughts. But yeah, Nerd Adders, like, I know this will come out after the festival, so sadly you won't get a chance, although I will put up some promotion definitely on our social media.
Thank you.
To
appreciate it.
Try to get the word out. But do you hope that it'll eventually get picked up for streaming of some type, maybe Amazon, similar to your other?
You know, that would be, that would be awesome. I think that was probably like lightning striking. Yeah. You know, with Lemon. Although this film, interestingly, has gotten into more festivals and connected, and seems to have connected with more people. So it would be awesome to sell it to an airline or other streaming platform. I don't know the odds of that, but the goal of every filmmaker that I know is just to get it seen. So I would love for more people to see it. I think, well, it's going to a bunch more festivals soon. Yeah, so I mean, we have listeners all over the world. So like, are you able to announce yet what the next one coming up will be? I think I could say, well, if you're in Mexico City, it will be at Mirada Corta, 12th of June, 2025. So that's cool, and I think I can announce that. And there's a bunch more that we can't announce yet, but primarily in the Northeast, so in the New York-ish area. So will your Instagram be the best place to kind of where you'll announce that? Yeah. Yes, and your handle is it at Timothy Michael Cooper? Is that right? That is right. Yeah. And then I always link to we have an Instagram for the film as well, and then we have the website for the film, which is just kneadfilm.com. So you can also see the trailer there and see what we're talking about when we're talking about, because we're talking about these abstract concepts, but you can see, this is what it actually looks like. Oh wow, okay, these are what these aliens look like, and I think you'll hopefully be intrigued. Yeah, it's definitely different. It's not something like you said. It kind of I felt like maybe it took the more terror laden War of the Worlds and kind of threw it on its head a little bit. They were folks. I'll let you see for yourself in the trailer. Like, do they show up in the trailer? They do really quickly. Yes, they do. So you get an idea. And I think, again, I was like, I think I'm almost incapable of approaching something very serious or through a serious lens. So there has to be some comedy element. So I was like, these aliens have to look completely silly. And it always gets like a laugh. And Dan Milius was the VFX designer, and he designed it when we went through all these different versions, and then he came up with the like silliest, most innocuous one, and that's the one that we went with. I thought the eye was probably the most interesting part, because you get a close up of the eye eventually, and like it blinks sideways. But then you see a reflection of something really interesting in the eye. I just that caught my attention. Awesome. I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah. Well, we worked, and Dan especially worked really hard on making that like as ridiculous as possible and engaged and visually like different as possible. Because again, I didn't want to do like Xenomorph or something like that. Yeah, I don't want to rip off H.R. Geiger. No, not at all. And some have done that. And then and it's hard because it's like, it's easy to make, or menacing is like kind of our go-to for aliens since the beginning of film or even before that. So, and even sometimes when they don't look menacing, it turns out they are they end up hurting people. But these aliens just gave everybody a really good day, and then they leave. And then they leave. Yeah. So, and then another goal, just to wrap up your other question, is another hope of a short film is that it could eventually be a feature
Yeah.
film, and definitely if the funding came along,
Oh yeah.
I would not say no to that. And in fact, a lot of the feature films I'm writing now are that mix of comedy and sci-fi because just to see how this really can connect with different audiences, like they enter through different ways. Some through I want to see something about aliens. I
right.
want to see a comedy.
I love a good comedy sci-fi, and it's hard to find them in some ways. Like I know, and feature films in particular, there's not a lot of comedy sci-fi feature films. You have like Galaxy Quest is one of the classics, of course, and series obviously. I loved Lower Decks. I don't know if you're a Trekkie.
Not as much, I still enjoy it. Still,
But it is.
But there aren't that many
feature films. Yeah, there's not a lot of
especially
sci-fi comedy feature films. So maybe that's a niche that you could.
You know what? I'd be happy to. It's always good to be a specialist.
Yes. Find something like this is my thing.
To have that thing, and I'm like, well, if this is my thing, those are my two favorite genres. So that would be great.
Well, perfect. Well, Nerd Hatters, check out the social media, give them a follow there. Check out the website for the film. Obviously, I'm going to try to I'll probably put this clip up on social media and just to give a little promotion. Like, hey, if you get a chance during the festival here, check out Knead. It's in a group of other short films. I think at least a dozen. I think all together. It's like one after the other, like a group showing.
Yeah.
I think yours is first, actually.
Is it?
I believe it's first on the billing for that group.
I'm finding this out here now. This is great.
If I looked at it correcly, at least yours was listed first. Whether it's showing.
Sometimes
first,
that is the order that they show it in too.
But if it is, then
awesome.
Yours kicks it off. So
cool. I can't wait. Yeah. So hope to see people at the screening, and then there's another screening next.
Yes. Yeah. Two different screenings. I think probably two different locations as well. That's the way they've done most of it. So.
Yes. So I'll be here for this one.
RiverRunFilm.com. If you want to find out when that's showing, pick up a ticket and go and see it.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time
absolutely.
and your interest.
And thanks for following us on Instagram. That's how we got connected. Was really excited to be able to sit down and talk with you. And thank you so much for giving us the time.
This was a lot of fun. Anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. There we go.
Cool. I hope that was okay for you.
No, it was great. It was great.
I don't know. Did we go an hour? I don't even know.
Exactly an hour. Wow. It was like on the dot. An hour or 39 seconds.
Amazing.
I was keeping a general look on the time.
I did not know how much time was passing because I was just enjoying it.
Oh yeah,
thanks.
No, that was fun. The more I read your bio, I was like, shit, this guy's doing so many things that I'm interested in. I could probably talk to him for more than 1 hour.
And I appreciate you actually doing research.
Oh shoot, yeah. Well, no, man. Like if I was a filmmaker coming into town and